Yeah.
All right. Accommodation.
Good morning. We are going to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me for a prayer. Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligation. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage that we may well serve our county and fulfill our trust. Amen.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the minutes from the September 16th Commissioners Meeting and the September 16th Special Commissioners Meeting.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Is there any additions or corrections? There was a note in the special meeting minutes. That was one where we had the court reporter here. So the minutes for that, excuse me, make reference to the transcript. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. Next up, we have a proclamation. This is proclaiming October 3rd, 2025 as Made in Medina County Day and October as Medina County Manufacturing Month. Whereas the Board of Medina County Commissioners desires to acknowledge the investments and contributions made by local manufacturers to the economy of Medina County and to show our dedication to maintaining a friendly business climate. Whereas Medina County is home to nearly 300 manufacturing companies who employ nearly 9,000 workers making products that are sold throughout the world. Whereas we respect all those who proudly stand behind the goods and services made in Medina County and honor those who continually invest in manufacturing innovation. Whereas manufacturing is a cornerstone of the Medina County economy, and we commend and support this important industry. And whereas this industry will be celebrated during Made in Medina County Day on October 3rd, 2025, through business tours to raise awareness and educate residents, students, and businesses as to the economic importance and career opportunities offered by the manufacturing industry. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Medina County, Ohio hereby proclaims October 3rd, 2025 to be Made in Medina County Day and the month of October to be Medina County Manufacturing Month.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. And Jake, would you like to accept this on behalf of the economic development? Thank you for being here. Absolutely. Thanks for You must say a few words.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're always very excited to celebrate our manufacturers in Medina County, and this is sort of our annual kind of big highlight celebration of that group. So we welcome anyone who's interested in kind of getting a behind-the-scenes look at the manufacturers in Medina County. These tours are open to the public, so I know our manufacturers would love to show you around. If you're interested, you can go to madeinmedinacounty.com, and that's where you can find all of the tours. So please come out and celebrate manufacturing with us, and for the entire month, just be mindful of the stuff that's being made here in Medina County, because there is a lot of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks.
Next up, we have public comment regarding pending resolutions. Is there any public comment regarding pending resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our resolutions, starting with our county engineer, who's represented today by Dan Becker. Morning, Dan.
I've got 6 resolutions for your consideration today. The first is a necessity to close Columbia Road between Lafayette Road and Polker for railroad repairs. The second is a necessity to close Granger Road for guardrail repairs. The third is approving the final change order for the pavement marking on various county roads contract. The next is authorizing the change order number 1 for the 2025 Medina County 422 chip and seal project. The next is finding the public welfare and convenience requires the resurfacing of Columbia Road in Lafayette Township. And the sixth one is finding the public welfare and convenience requires the resurfacing of Lake Road in Lafayette Township.
I'll make a motion to approve the 6 resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thanks, you too, Dan. Next up, Jeremy Cinco, sanitary engineer.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Jeremy.
2 resolutions for consideration today. The first is accepting and awarding the bids for the lawn maintenance and snow plow services at various Medina County facilities. And the second is authorizing the sanitary engineer to enter an agreement with Raftillis for professional design services to provide a financial plan and rate study.
I will make a motion to approve the 2 resolutions.
And second the motion.
Motion second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Denise Testa from Planning.
Good morning.
Morning,
Morning.
Denise.
I have just one resolution for your consideration, appointing members to the subdivision regulations and proposed development agreement RFQ application review committee and work group.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion second, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I appreciate your work in really getting a diverse group of people from, many different areas. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And next up, we have HR, Holly Murin.
Good morning.
Morning.
On our personnel changes resolution today, we have 3 new hires, 1 in transit, 2 in sanitary, 1 promotion in maintenance, 5 rate increases, 1 at senior and adult services, 5 at job and family services, 1 at human resources, and 1 in sanitary, 1 appointment change at senior and adult services, 1 on leave of absence and maintenance, 1 suspension in transit, and 2 resignations at job and family services.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yeah, there's second.
Oh, the
resolution.
table of organization change for
Senior and adult services.
senior and adult services.
I will make
Yes,
a motion
sorry.
to approve the 2 resolutions.
And I will second the motion.
Motion second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you.
Holly.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Brett Thomas from Finance.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I have 9 resolutions for you. Our first one is increases of appropriations. Our second resolution is our transfer of appropriations. You'll see a whole bunch on the back end of this for felony delinquent care. This is actually our rollover of the grant funds into the next grant cycle. So we have to close out the old appropriations. Our third resolution is expenditure adjustments for various funds. This is actually hours from both my department and planning that need to be charged off for the CDBG grant. Our fourth resolution is cash transfers for various funds. 100,000 of this is going into our tower maintenance fund. We've had some expenses to maintain the towers needed for the sheriff for the radios, as well as our other 182,000 is that carry forward of the grant for the felony delinquent care. Our fifth resolution is the creation of the Family First Council Family-Centered Services and Support Fund and authorizing its appropriations. Ohio Department of Mental Health has given us $68,370 for that purpose. Our sixth resolution is creation of Family First Council's Early Intervention Fiscal Year 26 Grant Fund and authorizing appropriations. We have been approved for funding in the amount of $489,989 and are allocating $414,902 of that presently. Our seventh resolution is expenses for the county engineer for travel. Our eighth resolution is expenses for other county officials. Nothing is out of state this time. The large one for the sheriff is actually for the close quarters battle and shooting course down in Marysville, put on by their sheriff's department. Our ninth and final resolution is our weekly bills in the amount of $2,374,046.26.
I'll make a motion to approve the 9 resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion second, is there any discussion? On the, you mentioned CDBG, you said those are allocation of costs, is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
So both my department and planning have hours that are billable directly to that grant for the cost of maintaining it. So that is a transfer of expenses so that the general fund isn't having to bear the cost of managing that grant.
Got it. That was what I understood. There was something about the wording that I want to make sure I was understanding that correctly. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Brett. Next up, we have department updates. Debbie Kiley. It looks like we have a couple resolutions as well.
Yeah, good morning. 4 this morning for your consideration. The first is authorizing a contract with the Children's Center of Medina County to provide visits at the center. The next is authorizing a MOU between Job and Family Services and Alternative Paths to do child and needs assessments for us. And the next is an agreement for a lease of a postage machine between Automation Mailing and Shipping Solutions with JFS. And the last one is for job development services that we do every year with Tri-County Jobs for Ohio graduates.
I'll make a motion to approve the 4 resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Department updates.
Yes.
Very good.
Child Protective. So I want to give a huge shout out to my Child Protective Division for meeting some what they call best practice initiatives. I should have practiced that before I came in, for the month of August. So the state measures counties on various amounts of things that the division is required to do, and one of those is meeting a certain percentage of visits. I think they need to meet like 94% every month of children that are in care along with their parents. So those visits are completed separately because we've removed the children from their parents. So we have to meet with the children, whether that's a sibling group that are living separately or all together. And then they also have to meet with the parents. Mom and dad, they could be together or they could be separate. So while it sounds mildly uncomplicated, it can be pretty tricky, especially now that school is back in play. A lot of these children have after-school things like soccer, basketball, and we're having to get to them either late in the evening or super early in the morning, and then the parents usually have some conflicting schedules with them too. So it's, I think as any parent can appreciate, it's a lot of a shell game when you're managing children in a home. So as we are standing in the place of their parent, we're having to do kind of like those same things. The caseworkers are moving around. But I am happy to say that for the month of August, they reached 100% of their visits were met. And then in the month prior to that, they were only at 98%. So they were only 2% away from being perfect. So congratulations to that group for doing the good work that they do. Also, a couple of months ago, I had shared with you that we had collaborated with 2 different counties, Medina is the third, for a treatment foster home program, providing care for children with higher acuity needs that maybe are just under the level of having to be in an institution to receive that higher level of care. But if we could have trauma-informed and educated families that could provide care for those children that would do best in a home and not in an institution, we wanted to do that for our kids. I'm happy to report that we have our first treatment foster home that's been licensed. We're hoping to license 2 more, and Portage is who we've contracted with, as well as Columbiana. They also have 3 treatment foster homes that we will all share. So in total, we have 7 foster homes that once one becomes empty, the other one can take on. So we have children right now that are in southern Ohio in certain placements. So Columbiana is not that far when we're having to do these visits. So it was a great opportunity not only for the staff, but for our children in care. So we're hoping to, we have 1 child in mind that's currently in a group home. He would probably thrive if he were in a foster home with an educated foster family. So we're looking at placing him in this new treatment foster home. And if he's not the one, then sadly we'll probably get custody of another child that might need that level of care, and at least we have that home ready for them. So we're hoping to certify at least 2 more by the end of the year. So good things happening there. Agency-wide, we have 2 events coming up. Our Coats for Kids is returning to the agency. We're again having it back at our place. It's free coats, gloves, scarves, and hats for children kindergarten through 18. It is for county residents only, so the parents or guardians need to come with the child. I need to give you the date, Thursday, November 6th from 5 until 7. They have a flyer that they're working on. They shared it with me yesterday, and I had just a few edits, so that will be forthcoming, and I'll share it with Brian. He left. I'll share it with Brian once we get that. The identity of the parents and guardians need to be provided just so that they can show proof that they're a county resident, and we do want the children to come. Sizes, as anybody that tries on clothes, they vary. So the children can be present so we can ensure a good fit. And as well, like if the children are older, they're going to want maybe not the pink coat that mom picked out for them and the cool blue one. As you know, we've also, over the course of several years, had our toy drive for children in foster care. That happens every November. This year it's November 1st from 9 until noon. And I have flyers for you for that one. And I think I already shared those with Brian yesterday. And Rhonda, there's one for you too. It's kind of like when I was writing this out, I'm like, they're gonna giggle at me. While we're still doing it again this year, in order to encourage attendance and donations, we've added one thing to our toy drive, and that's treading. So we've coined it Treading for Santa to kind of like pull it all in together. So we're offering free shredding up to 4 file boxes on that same day. So it's not a requirement that you bring a gift in order to get things shredded, but it is the hope that if you bring a box of things to be shredded, you will also bring a toy for children in our care. And we do prefer that they are unwrapped and I forget the other requirement. Unwrapped. I think that might be it. Unwrapped.
And new.
And new, thank you. Yes, it's important for them to be unwrapped so that we can identify what the gift is, so we know what child maybe has asked for that and where we can give that child to.
That's a good way to connect the two, and as long as there's no confusion that that's a snowboarding event.
Yeah. Is this associated with the one where you could go online and see what the foster kids specifically wanted?
Yep.
So it is online too?
It
to
is.
see?
Yes.
Okay.
The Amazon wish list. I didn't keep one for myself.
Is that fostermedina.com?
Yeah, if you check there, I bet I'll check with Lane, the coordinator of this, to
Okay.
make sure that she has that Amazon wish list updated. Pretty sure she does because she is a rock star. So I have to believe it's out there. Gift cards and cash. I think I get that question every year. Can we do gift cards and cash? Absolutely yes, because I believe I am a very cool person, but our teenagers do not believe that the gifts that I get them are cool, so they would rather have their own gift cards and cash to purchase the things that they need. And those items work really well for our children that are in treatment facilities, because a lot of times they can't go out and shop for themselves, so that provides them a way to get those things either online or for us to purchase them and get them to them. Those are my updates for today.
I do have a question. If it's successful with Columbiana and Portage, will the 3 counties then reach out and maybe collaborate with additional counties, or do you feel like 3 is a good fit?
3 is probably a good fit for right now. And this was part of a grant initiative last year that is now no longer funded by the Department of Children and Youth. But when the grant was issued, you had to connect with no less than 2 other counties, including yourself. So it had to be at least 3. So there are a lot of other agencies out there that have already had this little collaboration. I think ours and maybe 3 other groups are the only ones that have licensed families. So we have done tremendously well in getting families licensed. I would certainly hope that now that the grant has expired, that will allow other counties to collaborate with one another. So now maybe if there is a treatment foster home in Wayne County, because the grant is over, I can probably pick up the phone at some point and say, Wayne, I have a child that meets this needs. Can I use your treatment foster home? Because we're all sharing in that expense for those kiddos.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Debbie.
Sure.
Stacy, you're here for the discussion. Okay, I thought that was the case. Moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the discussion session. We're going to talk through property tax relief, but actually, did you have anything for public comment on behalf of the Secretary of State? Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. Before we get started on property tax relief discussion, though, we did get a request from the Parks District for a resolution of support for their application to Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Fund to purchase and permanently protect some area of Yellow Creek headwaters in Granger Township. Nate Epping had requested to come to next week's meeting and present that resolution. I just wanted to make sure we had a discussion on that before he
sure.
comes.
Sure.
But I told him if he wanted to come, and just for your benefit, Rhonda, and present an update, he could present an update and then present this resolution as part of it.
Okay.
So I think we'll plan on him being here next week as long as there's no objections.
No objection.
Sure. No, let's go.
Moving on to property tax relief option, we'll turn it over to Brett and Matt.
Good morning.
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 So I think Miles is going to upload a PowerPoint slide, which will be visible for those who are streaming live and viewing
Great.
this. But over the last several weeks, really last couple of months, our team has been taking a look at some of the changes at the state level, specifically related to House Bill 96. And some of the property tax reforms and some of the options that are given to the commissioners to take action to provide relief to the property taxpayers here in Medina County. So this is meant to be a very interactive conversation as we kind of work through these different slides. Our team, again, for the last several weeks have been taking a look at those 3 different options. On the first slide that you're going to look at there is a copy of the current Schedule B for tax year 2024 for collection year 2025. That's not for collection of next year because the reappraisal process that has been taking place to this very day is not yet finalized. But we are projecting that based upon the inside millage The county would look to receive an additional $3.5 million of what is considered unvoted increased inside millage. Part of House Bill 96 also provides, on the next slide, a couple other scenarios in which the commissioners could take advantage of what's called a homestead exemption. I believe this is often referred to as a piggyback. Currently within the county, there are roughly 11,286 parcels this year in 2025 that are taking advantage of the homestead exemption. This is based upon age, veteran service, and disability, and it provides a $28,000 reduction off of those property taxes. Again, House Bill 96 would provide the ability for the commissioners to impose a piggyback in which we would grant additional property tax relief under this existing tax program. The next slide
Does that chart show, that shows the current amounts, right?
Yeah, so I think what you're going to see on that current amount for 2025, the county receives a reimbursement from the state in the amount of $697,431. It's my understanding that is 100% reimbursable from the state. The piggyback option would, I believe, double that amount, but the doubled amount is not reimbursable from the state.
Yeah, the local part is not reimbursed.
Correct.
And so basically, it just, I guess you would just take the number and double it as to what the tax
Impact would be.
tax impact.
So in essence, that chart shows what we're currently getting reimbursed, but it also, in essence, would show if we were to double it, that's the amount that would disappear
That's
from the
correct.
respective budgets that are shown on that chart.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
The next slide is going to be similar in that this is the 2025 countywide owner occupancy credit. Throughout the county, there's about $5.3 million that's returned back to these taxing entities that you see across this bar chart here. Obviously, the county, as well as the school districts, are the largest recipient in terms of those refunds. As we go to the next slide, when we take a look at the current budget year, obviously we are approaching here shortly the 2026 budget preparation, but as we kind of approach year end, our estimates for the end of year revenue sources is about $66.5 million. When we take a look at our expenses, we're just under that, so we budget to basically, at the end of the year, be budget neutral. And I can certainly let Mr. Thomas speak to that in more depth. But our expenditures at year end is slightly under the anticipated revenues. So year end estimates on expenditures, $66.4 million. So about $125,000 under our anticipated revenues. Again, as we approach 2026 and take a look at 2027 even, when we start looking at potential unfunded mandates that are passed down, whether that be at the federal level or ultimately to the state level, when we started to work with our different departments to see which could potentially be impacted the most through some of the unfunded mandates, Jobs and Family Services is one division that is anticipating significant shortage within several of their different divisions. So, for example, their Child Protective Service division is anticipating a $1.6 million budget shortage in 2026. Additionally, their Child Support division is anticipating roughly $350,000 in terms of a budget cut from the state level. And then as you look forward into 2027, their SNAP benefits program. There's changes at the federal level that we anticipate will ultimately be absorbed at the state level and then passed down to us here at the local level, which is also concerning in terms of budget cuts. So we're going to need time, obviously, to work with Debbie and her office to plan accordingly to make sure we can absorb some of those unfunded mandates.
So when you look at this chart and you total up Job and Family Services and some of the escalating expenses that you have below, it pretty much eats up the 22% increase that we're going to get.
Yeah, but these, that's the question when it comes down to like child protective service and child support. Those are the administrative costs as well as the benefit reductions?
We're gonna need a mic.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, I'll get out of your way.
Sure.
So for the child support division, they've been flat funded ever since I've been director, so more than 5 years.
Right.
So just like if revenue, it's easy math, right? If revenue stays the same, but expenses, utilities, salary, benefits, things like that go up, that's where my deficit is coming from, for the child support division. For the
So and that's primarily with the federal and state under the current budget that was passed by the state, as well as big beautiful bill reductions that are coming through.
The big beautiful bill didn't impact child support that greatly. It was
right.
pretty static with that.
Right.
Along with the child protective, the big beautiful bill didn't impact the child protective that much. It's just House Bill 96, the governor's budget.
Right.
He has helped in the child protective division, but the cost of especially our treatment facilities are so exorbitant. I'm spending almost $400,000. I think that's the number I provided you, Matt. $400,000 a month, and that's just for the children that are sitting in these treatment facilities. And I have to put them in a treatment facility because they are either unwell enough that they can't be in a foster home, or they are facing some significant safety considerations at home that they can't be in a traditional foster home. There was something put in place probably 3 years ago called QRTP, Qualified Residential Treatment Facility. That was put in place under the first Trump administration, and it required facilities to meet a higher level standard of care. So I think these facilities were maybe forced to increase their prices because they had to do this much more stuff. I don't know all of the things that they had to do. I don't have that like right here, but I know that was more extensive visits, more extensive discharge planning. So they have passed on those additional expenses to counties, and we have to pay it because we don't have anywhere else.
So those include the benefit costs and administrative costs increase that you're anticipating. We've got a social services levy that covers currently those costs, correct?
Covers some of it, yes.
So my point was not where the funding came
Oh,
from.
right, yeah.
My point was that this slide illustrates that the 3.5% increase in revenue we're going to get from the 22%, estimated 22% increase is largely already been mitigated by this slide and these expenses here, right here. That was my point, not where it was funded.
Okay, yeah, and the big beautiful bill, that's the SNAP side of the
That's the SNAP
house.
for the administrative and so forth. That still has yet to be worked out
Well-
by the state, correct?
There could be state
Correct.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
my question too.
that's the one
Yes.
thing they're holding off as to whether we get the waiver early or later and all that other.
Well, Director Dan Schroeder, ODJFS Director Dan
Right.
Schroeder, has petitioned, is petitioning the legislator to, because there's going to be a $65 million deficit between
Right.
counties and state for the funding of the SNAP program, because the feds used to split it 50-50. They are now only going to pay 25%, so now states have to pay 75%. We're presuming and asking this legislator to make us whole so that counties don't have to incur that expense. It will be about $685,000 in fiscal year 27. So that's
Correct.
what Matt was alluding to, is that it's not here yet. It's not here in fiscal year 26, but it'll be.
685 in 2027 if they don't make us whole.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Which right now is still being negotiated,
Yeah.
as I
Correct.
understood. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Rachel, with CCAO had mentioned that they had a meeting, I guess, on Friday with Dan Schroeder to be talking about this.
Yeah,
So,
we're,
okay.
we're hopeful though they will make us whole.
Yep, okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Sorry.
That's great. Okay, so in addition to what we're looking at potential shortcomings in the state funding level, one of the tasks that we were asked to look at was where could we make cuts? So the next slide that I wanted to kind of walk through here for a few minutes was our existing capital improvement budget. Over the last couple years, you can see where we've historically appropriated from our budget and then where we've spent on certain projects. I think it's important to note that through Corsa and our insurance for property and casualty, we have nearly $580 million worth of assets that we insure. Stephen, our facilities director, has a really good tracking system that looks at each of our different facilities, and over a 30-year period, what does it take to maintain those facilities? And interestingly enough, when we crunch the numbers, it comes out to roughly $3.5 million per year to put back into these facilities to make sure they're being properly maintained. I say interestingly enough because that's the exact number that we are seeing on that 22% increase on the inside millage amount that's going to be generated.
But some of that's already in. So unlike the previous page discussion, which is new obligations, we're building that in already at the looks like 23 it was 2.1 and 24 was 3. So we've in the recent years gotten closer to that 3.5 threshold.
Correct. And we're still underspending.
Yeah.
But that'll kind of lead into the next slide here, because there were a couple very significant projects that were part of this year's capital improvement budget that we did not go through with because of cost. Just the costs were way over budget. For example, the engineering center roof replacements, we had budgeted this year roughly $350,000 in our capital improvements. When we actually went out to quote it and receive updated figures, it came in closer to $1 million. That same roof, after yesterday's storms, was leaking water through the roof and entering and penetrating certain parts of our server room. So we recognize that that's a project we can't push off much further. We have to get it done. In the previous weeks, we had just discussed internally that we see that as being a critical project to complete in 2026. Similarly, 72 Public Square, that facility right on the square has had years of deferred maintenance. Again, we've budgeted for it in previous capital improvement years, but we have not funded some of those projects. We recognize that we're going to have to put some significant amount of resources into that facility to make sure that it doesn't have leaking roofs and some of the other deficiencies that we're starting to see. JDC, Juvenile Detention Center, that's got a aged roof that is well beyond its useful life. There's some concerns as far as leakage goes on that facility. The most recent quotes obtained were $600,000. So the reason I'm kind of walking through some of these specific projects, we could take a look at ways that we can pull back on some of our capital improvement projects, but these are a few that we recognize that they're imperative to get accomplished and make sure we're protecting these buildings. And then the last slide, wanted to walk through a little bit as far as, again, kind of future planning. When we take a look at our existing debt obligations, the courthouse is by far the most significant project that we have existing debt obligations to fulfill. Our current debt service payment is just under $4 million annually. Those payments are going to continue through the year 2055 until that facility is paid off. When we start taking a look at projects for the future and other facilities that need to be improved, I've noted on the right-hand column 3 specific buildings. Jobs and Family Services, that facility is not that old. However, it was poorly constructed, and in 2018 approximately, there was an assessment done on that facility, and it was showing significant deficiencies structurally and some mechanical systems. That's going to require a pretty significant amount of reinvestment back into that facility to make sure it can last a long time. Those costs are roughly $6 million. Additionally, when you look at the Human Service Center, again, a good, well-built facility. We're investing capital improvement dollars into that structure as we speak. But the window replacement project is something that we're going to eventually have to address. We're estimating that's approximately $1 million to replace each of the windows on that facility. And then last, but certainly not least, is the ongoing discussion with the dog shelter. Our advisory committee, I think, has made tremendous progress. We are in the process of interviewing 4 shortlisted architectural firms to construct a new dog shelter on the existing property. That would obviously replace the existing facility, but we're looking at additional debt obligation payments in the future if these are projects that we're going to pursue further. So of those 3 projects that I just mentioned, JFS, Human Service Center, and the dog shelter, you're nearly $13 million, and that's probably being conservative as far as future debt obligation payments that you'd have to somehow satisfy. So we're taking a look at all the ways that we could trim costs. I think we run a pretty lean operation within the commissioner's offices, but we're certainly open to exploring other areas that you would like us to really focus in on and find additional savings or ways that we could provide relief to the property taxpayers. So it's a lot of information. Again, I'm happy to have dialogue as far as the direction you'd like us to pursue.
So when you say 3.9 in debt, it's only these 2 things that total 3.9?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. And that's our principal and interest payments annually.
And that goes to actually one of the first slide questions where you broke down the inside millage, the existing inside millage, the allocation between general fund and debt service. If in the current situation, if we don't change anything, then that all that 3.5, all the increase, the 3.5 million that comes in, that would all get allocated to the general fund because the debt service is covered by the.
If I could, I'll have Mr. Thomas.
That's great.
Yeah, we
answer that one.
we
if that's-
ba- we basically just we adjust the inside millage every year to match up with
the debt obligation.
With that debt
obligation,
obligation.
right.
So whatever
So-
the debt service is,
Yeah.
comes out first and the balance goes to general
Correct.
fund. Okay, that was the
I
essence
think
of my
that's the way
question.
it's
Yep.
done. But the Medina County Jail roof probably ends, next year is the last
And
year
what's the
for
amount
that.
on that annually?
I'm sorry, what,
The debt service on
The
the
debt
roof?
service, on the jail roof, it's at 1.8 million, and I guess it ends in 2026 is the last one.
I can tell you the specifics on that amount. That bond is significantly smaller.
Brett, hold on.
I can pull you the specifics on those, on what each bond individually costs
Right,
for us.
right,
We also have a third anticipatory note that is in schedule for payoffs as well right now. So I'll get you all 3 of those
And
figures.
that's all, that's what was, the current .14 was going towards.
Right. Importantly, though, for that inside millage discussion, were we to have interest in extending that next bond or look at using bond funding in order to source our, in order to source money for upcoming improvements like the dog shelter, et cetera, we will need to have a revenue source that is assigned towards that. So historically, we have always used inside millage for that purpose. If for any reason we were to decrease our inside millage, we would have to come up with a different way to illustrate financing capability for that debt going forward.
Well, yeah, the Constitution says we have to have dedicated revenue source for debt, straight out. So and you just use inside millage for that purpose, yeah.
Inside millage is used,
Give him the mic, yep.
inside millage is usually used on the financial side because it is the only source that is guaranteed to the government.
Agreed.
So any kind of fluctuating revenue, the finance companies don't really count towards.
Well, my only
Yeah.
reason was that just to clarify as to how much inside millage is gonna be freed up after next year, from, those debt obligations that are ending.
And just as a note, on the inside millage, so there is some set aside for just debt service, but it's 206,500.
Got it.
So that's allocated out of the general fund for debt service. Everything else is the commissioner's decision
Gotcha.
to move general funding over.
Got it.
If that makes
Okay.
sense.
Thank
Yep.
you.
That does make sense, thanks.
Yeah, and I probably should take a moment just to recognize, the auditor's office has obviously been very helpful. We work very closely with John, as well as Kristen Johnson, in providing a lot of financial information to help us try to find out ways that we can, again, cut costs and provide relief to the taxpayers.
So, as it pertains to the homestead or owner-occupied credits, you've got the charts of the different taxing authorities in there. Some of those aren't obviously entirely within Medina County, but any action we take affects the Medina County portion of those
That's correct.
collections? Okay.
Can I speak maybe a little on that? So yes, your decision on what you would do from an inside millage rate affects everything. I mean, the county's percentage of the millage rate for the homestead side is 12.7%. And it's 13.8 for the owner occupied. So that portion is directly affected in the county's budget. Everything else is schools, cities, fire, cemetery, parks, libraries, on any type of millage reduction rate. I think it's important for the general public to know that as something you guys have to weigh on. Yes.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt that's, as I did a memo or email yesterday, is that it impacts all these other jurisdictions. But it is a brand-new authority granted to the Board of Commissioners.
Right.
And some counties are starting to exercise it.
Yeah.
And we've got that number of weeks here, I guess, to make that decision as in terms of property tax relief, whether it makes sense to look at doubling the homestead exemption or doing some owner occupancy credit percentage, whatever that means. I guess we're limited up to 2.5%, which is what the state one is, and what the impact would be. But it obviously just doesn't impact us, it impacts all the levies, everything that's in there.
Yeah, primarily schools. I mean,
Yeah, for the largest,
yes,
Obviously,
71.7 and
Right.
71.52 are
Agreed.
the school millage. Now, I know Cloverleaf is planning a 3 mil rollback
Their own
voluntarily.
Right.
And
That's a
the
no.
and the DD board isn't on this list. It doesn't appear.
They're under the county.
Are they in our?
Are they not in the, they're in the county column.
into our number?
They're,
Okay.
in fact, all our levies are.
Yeah,
under
you'll
that
see
one.
them listed on that Schedule B, the second slide of your deck.
Okay.
They're going to be seen, I believe it's 2 levies under the Achievement Center is
Right.
where you're going to see their.
3.
Yeah.
Isn't it 3?
Is there 3 on there?
Yeah, there's 3.
On the county side of things, the biggest effect will be from health and human service areas
Right.
in the budgeting process.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So that when we see the county number, that's basically all of the voted millage
Yeah, correct.
from
Well,
essentially from this board or
yeah,
authorized
yeah,
by this
the
board.
county home,
Yeah.
the McDac, Health and Human Services, Achievement, yeah.
Commissioners, I did want to note one extra thing. As I go through and perform our budgets each year, and as we're going through the year, I develop income and expense pro formas into the upcoming year. It's important to note that while if you look on that pie chart that Matt had provided, you'll see that property taxes amount to approximately 30% of the revenue that we bring in for the general fund. That 22% increase, the $3.5 million, it seems like a very large increase when we're looking at it as a percentage of property taxes, and I can appreciate that. Versus the general fund's budget, however, this is just a hair over 5%. I think as we're talking about the idea of what to do with that increase, it's important for you guys to know that from the best that I can develop presently due to currently changing economic climates, that several of our other revenue sources that the county depends on are likely to not increase or hold steady, or even in certain places decline ever so slightly. Obviously, that doesn't stop our ongoing costs from increasing. inflation hits everybody, and that includes us. But our other revenue sources are not coming up to match this. This is not a 22% increase across the board for county revenue. This is one source of our revenue, and it's very important that we identify its placement in our overall income and expenditures.
No, that makes sense. That it's essentially it's a 5% increase in a inflationary environment that's somewhere between 4 and 6%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right now, sales tax is looking to have a very, very minor increase next year. The best estimates that I have on the conservative side are between 1.8 and 2% increase on that over the next year. State subsidies and additional monies that we have coming in are things that we have to be very concerned to look at whether they're being held flat or decreasing in certain areas. So casino revenue is also something that comes in that's anticipated to be flat or even just a little hair under what we have received in prior years, and our investment income from good use of the cash that we have to sit on at any point in time, our operating cash flow, is expected to decline as the interest rates decline due to our requirement to utilize bonds for our investment purposes.
I think since it's the most significant portion of the pie chart at 37%, it would be good for you to explain to the public the permissive taxes.
So our permissive taxes include our sales tax, our real property transfer taxes. These taxes are ones that you guys have elected to put in place and the public has allowed to put in place in the case of sales taxes. We transfer half of that amount actually over to the schools each year to help subsidize their
Well, that's
budgets.
not part of this chart though, right?
No, that is
Yes,
part of the.
That 37% includes the 0.5% to schools?
No, that's our
Okay, that's what I thought.
portion.
Okay, that's our portion.
So
Okay, all right.
as we're looking at our general fund revenue items, but
right.
that's the thing is that when people go and buy something and they see
Right,
that
yeah.
that percentage, I think a lot of times everybody thinks, okay, well that's funding going to the county. Well, yes, but we've devoted a portion of that funding. We're not getting all of that right off of the
Right,
bat.
right.
So those income sources that are coming in through permissive taxes make up a good chunk of that, but they are much more consumer. They're dependent on other outside market conditions, because sales tax, for example, is going to be dependent on how much people spend inside of our county. Real property taxes are going to be dependent on how much we have in sales of properties through the county to be able to have those taxes collected. Those are a percentage base off of the value of property that transfers. So when we have slower economic climates, we're going to bring in a little bit less from those. In the case of an inflationary environment and sales tax, we have cost of goods is a little bit higher, but people buy a little bit less, right? Because everybody has just a little bit less that they can really allocate in their budget. So when what we're spending goes down, even if the price is going up to kind of equal out, we end up trending flat for that. In the meantime, though, the county's expenses for items that we need to be able to pay for, whether it be building maintenance or road construction or any of the services that are provided, those costs continue to increase.
And you put the real estate property transfer tax in there. Do you also put the recording fees in that column?
So recorder fees and as well as court fees and others will go into
The fees and fines?
Fees and fines, yes.
Got it.
That includes the recorder's fees, treasurer's fees, auditor's fees, as well as any fees and fines that are levied by the courts.
So as it pertains to the solution side of this matrix, that's really what we want to make sure we're considering. We've mentioned before the prospect of doing something that has impact on the people who are struggling. When we start talking about the inside millage component of this, that's a $3.5 million number, which again in the grand scheme, sounds like a big number, but when you divide that across all the parcels in the county, you're not really moving the needle in terms of cost savings.
85,128.
Yeah, that's the number of parcels. So your average savings on that, I mean, it's going to be allocated based on value, but
Average of approximately $36 to $40 per parcel.
per parcel per year. Yeah. So, if you talk about $40 of savings, that really doesn't move the needle from a savings standpoint. And it also, I do think, the one thing that doesn't really get talked about much in this debate is there are people who have the good fortune of not being taxed out of their homes, and I think a lot of those people, we see that perspective when some of these tax levies go up, and we continue to vote for those. The Parks District has a levy increase on the ballot this year. We'll see how that goes with the voters, but I mean, those kinds of votes in this county, we tend to be a community that supports these levies, which to me means there isn't broad-based demand for lowering them across the board. But there are subsets of folks who really need the tax relief if they're going to stay in our community, and we don't want to lose those people. So I'm more open to kind of a targeted approach that benefits those people who are most in need of the relief, rather than doing a shotgun approach that hits everything and we could say we did something and pat ourselves on the back, and it really doesn't make a difference for the people who need the most assistance.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with, obviously, with just the rollback across all those parcels, it really has. And that, I think, as I pointed out in the memo in the past, when we've seen significant bumps and conversation back in the late 90s on some of that stuff, that's exactly what we looked at, is it's like it has such, and that was the only mechanism open to the county to roll back inside millage, historically. So historically, it's like, and then when you balanced it with the other revenue sources, there were times, as I said, in times, the good years pay for the bad years. And as you saw on the chart, the information that Brett had provided me sometime that I included, you can see with those ebbs and flows, sometimes we went negative, either in property tax or even in sales tax. So yeah, at this point, I'd agree generally that the broader it is, obviously has less impact.
It's 53 entities that are affected by the.
Right.
On the mic. Can you get him the mic?
Sorry. It's a total of 53 entities that are affected by the inside millage.
So actually, and when we look at inside millage, as you said, the number of entities, they will also see some increases, correct? That's one of the reasons that. Go ahead.
That projected increase, and again, I want to emphasize that it's a projected increase. We still don't have public utility rates from the state, so we don't know what those are going to do. But yeah, so that goes across. Again, call it, for argument's sake, 71% are schools, and then that 30% of the pie goes to probably 43, 44 entities is the 30% of the millage increase, and that's townships, libraries, parks, cemeteries.
Have you, other than Cloverleaf, have you ever heard from any other entity that's looking to roll back their inside millage?
There's been preliminary discussions. There's a huge uneasiness of what's happening down in Columbus, and what type of reforms are going to stick from a property tax basis and how they're going to approach that. So it's a little nebulous on them, schools especially, figuring out how they would fund things going forward if some of these changes occur. So there's been discussions with the schools. I will subtract out Wadsworth and Medina because they're above the 20 mil floor.
They're impacted by the 20 mil floor discussions.
Their millage increases are much less, but that's a way more complicated discussion.
Right. Yeah. Well, they do have some inside millages going to increase, not as much as those that are below the 20 mil floor.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Significantly less.
Yeah. As I understand, I talked to Andy Hill yesterday. So as I understand it. So okay. So I guess at this point kind of goes to, the question is whether we can, based on what our projections are, whether we can afford to do any kind of property tax relief. And as I kind of outlined, as I was looking at it, I absolutely wish we could do the targeted one. I wish we could do homestead exemption. But that is actually the most expensive of them because it just doubles it. There's no opportunity for doing like the occupancy, the owner occupancy credit. You could do a percentage, and you could then, based upon what you could afford, you could basically
Right, exactly.
do that. But the homestead exemption, you either double it or you don't. And that makes it much more difficult because that's a huge hit for us as well as I think Brunswick is like $1.2 million less with the home occupancy, and that's the most targeted population as far as I'm concerned that really needs the relief. Those that are seniors, disabled, those that are veterans, even the spouses of fallen, I guess. First responders in duty, under duty.
Yeah.
That's the enhanced homestead exemption.
I would say because of the restrictions on what's required to be in homestead,
Yeah.
the effective population, while it's some of the most needed, I don't think extends far enough to benefit a large chunk of people that need that. It's a $40,000 income requirement that they have to meet, or 100% disabled. So it's a very restrictive group.
But targeted.
Yeah.
Yes, targeted.
Yeah, very, very. Obviously, that would be my personal preference, but we can't. Just the amount of tax revenue, but the almost 700,000 loss, as well as the impact to the larger school districts. I mean, like I said, that's a huge hit for any of them to even think about. So and that's the most targeted. That's the ones that are the poorest and most in need of the tax relief.
I would want to also mention that as we're looking at targeted, despite its restrictive requirements.
Mhm.
Is that turned on? Okay. Miles was looking.
Despite the Homestead Act's very restrictive requirements, 1 in 8 parcels, 1 in 8 of our taxable parcels are hitting that, I believe. We have 11,000.
It's at 11,286 is what I
So,
saw, yeah.
Even despite the restrictive nature of that particular relief, it's still hitting 1 in 8 residents.
1 in 8 parcels.
Or, 1 in 8 parcels.
Right.
So
Yep.
you're hitting a.
Oh, agreed. What's unfortunate is that actually the state had the opportunity to expand their homestead exemption, and they'd rather obviously seek tax relief for pipelines. Sorry.
So what are our next steps?
Well, I think if we had a sense of direction as to one of the three different tax relief efforts, we would pursue that. I think we could bring back to you additional information on, again, once we know which of the three scenarios you want us to start to pursue, I'm confident we could provide you additional information to help you make a good decision.
Just from a scheduling deadline, I don't believe the auditor's office will be submitting for the tax rates until the early part of December. Just with the new values having to be certified, and that the official deadline is the 31st, which is unrealistic for any county that's doing the reappraisal. You'll get an automatic extension, but we've already talked to the tax commissioner, and so we're looking at probably certifying rates sometime in the end of November.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So then that's got to be approved by the state, and then we send that back to the state for them to do the tax
I heard
rates.
anecdotally that you've asked the superintendents and so forth, like middle of October, to come back with whatever adjustments they might. So
Yeah.
you're looking for a quick decision.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, yeah.
it's all state, unfortunately,
Right,
it's all
yeah,
state
yeah.
mandated.
Right. yeah, yeah.
And so it's fitting into the schedule, so.
Unfortunately, one of the considerations on whatever we do is the state's still in discussion on doing some things themselves.
Well, we've seen the list, and
Yes.
none of them actually impact next tax year. Even if they were to override those vetoes, in fact, I talked with our representative yesterday, and she got clarity from the Department of Taxation. It won't, even if they now were to finally take action on any of those, the governor's proposals.
It's too late for
It's
next
too
year.
late for next year.
It'll be tax year 2026, which will be collected in 2027.
So the impact won't be immediate. And even with those that they're proposing, it wouldn't be immediate. And it's going to work through the process. And none of them, I dare say, that is going to impact any of 2026 at all, even if they're able to finally sort through the issue.
So essentially, it puts counties in a position of doing something.
Well, counties and local, in the
Right.
schools, because we saw a cloverleaf, each of them, and I think one of the representatives that has kind of led this effort, it basically says it's all up to the locals to make
Yeah.
any kind of tax relief. The state is washing, state General Assembly has washed their hands of this, and they said it's up to us to do
Our
something.
options are something in the context of what they put in front of us,
So
or doing nothing. And yeah.
So in general, the millage is actually done at the Budget Commission meetings is where
Right,
the adjustment.
yep.
So it's a request that's done and then put into the Budget Commission. There'll be hearings for every entity and their new budgets and the rates and all of that. So that decision is all happens kind of at the Budget Commission. Obviously, you suggest the reduction, the Budget Commission.
Right. Yeah, and I talked to Daryl Kubelis, superintendent over at Cloverleaf, about what they were doing, and I had, of course, advised them what we were considering, what we're looking at, what our options are, and they said they could, as far as they understood it, they could still make some adjustments based upon what we do. In other words, they wouldn't take a double hit.
Yeah.
But as far as I understood, none of the other schools are looking at doing anything similar to the Cloverleaf is doing.
There's some initial discussions.
Discussions
We'll
only.
we'll have those budget meetings in January
Yeah.
for the schools.
Well, we're talking about for this next collection year.
Right.
Yeah.
But their budget runs countercyclical. So
Right,
they
yeah.
start in June. So their funding allocation is already made through the first half of
Got it.
26.
Right.
But even if we do, if we went with something with owner occupancy where we've got some discretion, that discretion is not exercised. We wouldn't be the ones carving cloverleaf out. They would carve themselves out.
Right,
by
correct.
what
They would
do.
just take and rescind some of what they decided.
So our change, whatever change we propose, or I guess in some context maybe impose through the budget commission process, would apply uniformly against taxing districts.
Yes, right.
And then whatever
Yeah.
other steps they were going to take, they would just factor that into their own
Right.
internal
Right.
decisions.
I think it's important to note that Cloverleaf is doing this proactive.
Agreed.
Not understanding yet how far they will be under the 20 mil floor, which
Right.
gets back into that whole discussion.
Right.
Right, yeah, and I guess, and I'll certainly highlight one of the reasons, well, they're able to do it, obviously they've got Nexus pipeline money, but also the sales taxes have been able to pay off their one elementary school. They've been able to reduce their permanent improvement because of the sales tax for schools that had been used for that elementary school can now be shifted over to help pay their other permanent improvements. So in effect, they are already getting somewhat of a benefit. I kind of pointed that actually last night to Richland County Commissioner was asking about, because there's a lot of chatter going on among the commissioners about what's being looked at and the impact on the schools and so forth. And it indicated to him that our schools are really benefiting from a sales tax.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I do think that's appropriate to factor into the discussion. Limited for capital expenses, but it does factor in.
Yeah,
It definitely
did
does.
for Cloverleaf for sure.
Stacy, I know you've been here on behalf of the DD board. I don't want to shut you out of the conversation. Is there anything you had to add, or you're just?
going to say Cloverleaf's in a pretty.
I was talking to Stacy. No worries. But I don't know if Stacy has anything to add, or just gonna get the microphone.
when you're talking inside millage, that does not have an impact on the county boards, because we just have that levy, that's standard collection that just is flat. So that doesn't change that for us.
I guess what I'm looking for is clarity as the impact of the, and I do appreciate the auditor's office giving us that list and by jurisdiction on the owner-occupied residential property, which is at 2.5%. It's very helpful, but knowing too that under the county, we've got the Achievement Center as part of that. So those credits that go for that, if there was to be an addition, that would actually impact the achievements, all the voted levies that are before 2013, correct?
Not the levies. So levies.
Not the levies? Okay, that's what I need to know. Okay.
Yeah, yes, not the levy. So a levy that's on the books.
That doesn't impact it.
It doesn't impact it.
Got it.
This is just the inside millage.
So the owner occupancy
gain they
credit
would
only
gain.
works
Yeah.
for that part of it?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I was trying to figure out whether it impacted based on the language, because they say 2013 before you're qualified for that credit, but after that you're not, and yeah.
Yeah, that was changes they made to the owner occupancy.
Correct. And I guess
yeah.
if we focused on the owner occupancy, I just wanted to say, so when we look at that chart, those are the impacted parties, and under the county, it really would have a general fund impact of that level.
That's correct. But as you indicated, you have some discretion on what you would want to add to that versus if you're piggybacking on homestead, you're
All or nothing.
matching.
Yeah. But I guess more accurately, when I'm looking at the owner-occupied reimbursements for 2025, the 2.5% credit for the Medina County was $738,360. That goes all to the general fund impact, or does that get distributed out?
Correct. Well, there's a small portion that goes to the debt service that I talked about. That was
Okay, so that's basically, got it, okay. All right.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
but yeah, you're correct in your assumption.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
right. Like I said, I just was trying to understand really what that number means in terms of our general fund
Yeah.
revenues.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
So we're essentially absorbing that.
The whole amount.
On the
Or,
inside
well, for
millage
at least the
adjustment.
county portion of it, but all these other entities, fire and rescue districts, and
Yeah.
all those get impacted as well,
Right.
as well as the schools, obviously, the most.
So that does take me back to the school discussion. That their voted millage would be that would it be inclusive of their voted millage too? And that's a question about the 20 mil floor. Is that why you're smiling?
So school funding is extremely convoluted. I'm going to
Yes.
say for
No argument.
So,
we agree.
so they have levy amount,
Yeah.
and then they also get some inside millage amount.
Right.
So you have to look at those two differently.
So whereas the county, we're only talking about inside millage amounts when we talk about that adjustment.
Correct.
For the school districts, it could be inclusive of some portion of both.
So if you think of it this way, the school district gets it on the inside millage portion, and then they also get it if they're below the 20 mil floor,
Yeah.
which is 5 school districts in Medina County. They get made whole up to 20 mils.
Okay.
Now, not every levy is considered in the 20 mil floor.
Yep.
So emergency levies aren't certain things, but that's
the
huge
short
formula.
answer, the short version of that answer is it's not as clear cut for them as it is the county that it wouldn't affect levy funding.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so your decision has nothing to do with if they're under the 20 mil floor.
Yeah.
They're going to the 20 mil floor regardless
Okay.
if they're below it. And the only schools that aren't are Medina and Wadsworth City Schools.
Well, that didn't clarify much at all.
Well,
I'll have to rethink that.
the question, but the question I
that's-
think
no,
that
it's-
raises
yeah,
for
yeah.
me is as it pertains to the chart, the owner occupancy credit chart for 2025. If we were to use this chart as a baseline for what the savings would be if we did a 1.5%, something other than 2.5%, these numbers across the chart are these? Is it fair to say these numbers across the chart are reflective of what those adjustments would be, what those
They're-
savings would be?
they're reflective of the inside millage that you have the ability to
adjust.
adjust.
So for Brunswick City Schools, which is just under $1 million there at 2.5%, if we were to cut that in half and say 1.25%, their number would be about, the savings that we realize from that would be about $500,000.
Roughly.
Okay.
Well,
Just for simple math purposes.
I'm just looking at the number chart that we got rather than the graph. But
I like pictures.
But for that 2.5%, they have 976,000. So you'd have to look and see what a 1%, which would be far less.
Well, I'm
than
saying
that.
if we just cut it in half, just for the sake of simple numbers,
got it.
it goes
got
from
it.
about
So-
$1 million to
well-
about 500,000. I just wanted to make sure
Got
it
it.
wasn't
Okay,
more
got it.
complication.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Okay,
So,
all right,
so,
all right.
so they would lose that on the inside millage, but because they're under the 20
Under
mil
the 20
floor,
they get brought back up.
that whatever that percentage is going to be that they're under, say they're under 1 mil for argument's
So
sake.
let me just
basically
say,
they would get brought up.
it's instructive for us to recognize the amount of tax savings that would be realized by residents. It is not instructive for purposes of saying the schools are going to lose this much money.
Well, no, they will lose that much in revenue,
in
Okay.
revenue, right?
but if they're under the 20,
If they're under the 20 mil, they'd be brought
use,
up.
Let's use Wadsworth
Yeah,
as
yeah.
an example.
But they
because
don't
they're-
have the 20 mil, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
It makes it simpler. So Wadsworth will lose the percentage that you reduce.
Right. So Wadsworth, same example, just to set the facts for people who are attempting to follow along, let's say. They're a little over $400,000 at 2.5%. So if we did a 1.25 reduction, their reduction would be around $200,000.
Of real revenue.
Yes.
And I'm trying to understand, you keep referencing inside millage, but Medina County Career Center does not get inside millage. And yet, when we talk about the owner occupancy credit, basically it's $225,000.
I think they get it.
They don't get inside millage, do they?
They get a portion of it.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Small.
Oh, I didn't realize that they got inside millage.
Yes, small.
Huh,
Be-
okay.
But
now, so
I want to go back to that
Okay,
last
gotcha.
point real quick because I want to make sure I'm understanding it. Maybe nobody else is. It has the same question, but so for a Wadsworth that's above the 20 mil floor,
Right.
this chart would instruct us both on the tax savings that would be realized from a reduction,
Yeah.
along with the revenue impact to them, dollar for dollar.
correct.
But for a district like Brunswick that's under the 20 mil floor, this $1 million, the scenario where I say we did a
Yes.
1.25,
They will lose that on the
inside millage.
inside millage.
But there would be an offsetting-
because of their under the floor, they would be offset that
Some
amount
portion
they're
of it.
under the floor, and
which we don't have the way of knowing by looking at this chart.
not until December.
But it's still instructive for purposes of saying
Yes.
there would be $500,000 added to the pot of tax savings.
Medina and Wadsworth will be impacted dollar for dollar for the decision you make.
Right. Just like any of the other. The reason we're concerned about the schools, if you look at the chart, the big lines on there are the county and the schools, and then the other lines are smaller lines, and so those dollar amounts aren't nearly as significant.
Correct.
They're gonna affect all of those budgets, though. I want to make no mistake about that.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at ones that don't move the needle very much. Sharon Township, and a lot of the township dollars on here. Those are monies that they do rely on to operate their township.
And they will lose whatever portion.
So I don't want to overlook that.
Inside millage, a similar gain.
Right.
We don't know proportionally because their evaluations are a little bit different.
No, whatever inside millage reduction you would make, let's say you make a 1%
Yeah.
reduction on the inside, 1 mil rate. They will lose a mil of revenue.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Right.
Okay. Well, I guess as far as the next step is concerned, from where I sit, I think our hands are a little bit tied to do anything other than something where we can kind of tailor what the amount is. So I'm with you in terms of leaning towards the owner occupancy credit because I think that's a tool that we can more narrowly tailor. But we don't have anybody here, representing the schools. I know you've heard from some of them.
Right, right. After we started the conversation, I guess, how would we do that? But still, we have to go back to the original question. Can we afford?
Right.
to identify some resources for next tax year, and it'd be only for next tax year, for those purposes. So
Yep.
some of it, we know that it's on a year-by-year, it'd have to be on a year-by-year basis.
Right.
Especially depending on what the state does. Hopeful is that the General Assembly gets their act together and are able to address this and actually do some property tax reform that is not at the local government's expense, as well as maybe reverse a little bit of their continuation of dropping the expenses back on the county.
Yep.
Like indigent defense and all the other list of things that they mandate. So can we afford to set aside anything for the next tax year? Specifically, it's temporary and it's limited, and if we can't, then basically, I guess that has to be the message then. But if it is, how much and how would be the best way to leverage that? And
Well-
then for those that are impacted, communicating with them, say, okay, we need your input. This is a new authority. I'll just point out the County Commissioners Association, as well as County Commissioners, never asked for this added authority. And but a number of counties are taking a look at it seriously and implementing it. I guess Butler's doing some significant, County is doing some significant.
Yeah,
cuts.
everybody is looking at it.
Right. Well, now's the-
No one has yet committed to actually
Well, I
doing
guess they
it.
voted Monday.
Yeah, oh, did they?
Butler
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Erie County, I think also, haven't they already? voted
Yeah,
on
well, some
theirs?
have already done inside millage.
Yeah, that
rollbacks.
was
There's
inside
like
millage,
4 or
that's right.
5that have
Yeah.
already done it.
Yep.
They do it to, like
But-
Delaware County, they do it every 4 years they've been doing rollbacks, so.
Yeah.
To a certain,
Yeah,
yeah. But they're
and it should be,
crazy.
it should be noted, though,
Yeah,
that they're doing that on dollars they know they're receiving.
correct,
We're
correct.
doing it with a black hole of, we anticipate it's going to be this amount, but
Yeah.
we don't know for certain, and we're not going to know till the end of December, to be
Right.
quite
Agreed.
honest.
I mean,
Agreed.
yeah, the rollback discussion is an easier one once you've got your reappraisal done.
Yeah, I think, but we know this is the time everybody's talking about it and evaluating it, and we are in the same boat as a number of other counties. We're kind of guessing, trying to estimate as best we can, and is there any opportunity for some tax relief when we know, especially when we've had, the increase in valuations and the anticipated increase in taxes for some of these seniors that are very much impacted, and
Well,
worrying about the next tax bill.
Right. And I think the answer is because of that reality, we have to find a way to do it. So if you say, can we afford it? I'd say we are heading into the next budget cycle. When we had these discussions earlier in the year when we weren't sure what the legislature was going to do, that was a lot more existential because we thought the rug was just going to be pulled out from under us on inside millage, which is more in the tune of $19 million than, so those kinds of discussions, I do think as we head into a new budget cycle, we just have to be thoughtful and careful and take it upon ourselves to make sure all the other elected officials and all the other agencies that come to us for budget approval realize that, we're in a different time now. It's a different time, and these are the steps I think we have to take to get the ball rolling. I don't think any of these are solutions that are going to really move the needle in the places where they most need to be affected. And then I think the ball is going to go back to the legislature for more action there. I feel more comfortable with that happening in the context of us and other counties doing something in the meantime within the confines of the tools they've given us. So,
And I don't know this, but I can do some research on it. I don't know, because our treasurer has decided to do 2 payment cycles, I don't know if we could adjust millage for the second. I don't know legally if you can do it, and systematically if you could do it, if you could make an adjustment at the half year on the millage rate.
well, I think
Probably not.
And I think we need to assume either way. I think we need we owe it to our voters the clarity of here's what the plan is going forward, going into the next tax year, and to the offices, the auditor's office, the treasurer's office. I wouldn't. It's a tight timeline, but I think we can I think we can work within it.
I just have to say, I'm very much impressed that Cloverleaf stepped up the way they did, and their Board of Education and their treasurer, as well as their superintendent.
Yeah,
looking at this.
they've done it before, and they're not only doing it on the millage side, they're also doing it on the sales tax side.
Oh, yeah, I
Also,
know.
they've done reductions.
Yeah, and I think that's tremendous, and like I said, a perfect county. Everybody would be taking a look and see, recognizing what this anticipated tax bill will look like next year, do the best they can to help the people that are most vulnerable in the county,
Right.
their constituents. And
Other comments?
Yeah, I wish there was a way to go extreme target, but we don't have the tools to.
Yeah, the most attractive thing to me about the homestead exemption is the number of parcels.
Right.
You know, it's over 10% to
And it's
Brett's point.
targeted.
Yeah, it's.
those that need the most.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would, of it being 10 or 12% or whatever it is of the parcels in the county, you would probably hit 80% of the people with the most need.
But literally, it's double or nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I mean by tools. They
Yeah,
can give
yeah.
us the
It's just-
tools
well,
to.
General Assembly had an opportunity to do it different, but they chose not to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I like
unfortunate.
discretion in all of these discussions, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's I think what I'm hearing and what I've heard you suggest, and I think that's pushing us towards the owner occupancy side of things, but even that isn't going to move the needle like I wish we would be able to. So.
Sure. I guess it comes down to, we're gonna continue looking at what our numbers are for next year, see if there's any way we can identify a sufficient amount that it makes sense to look at a set aside for property tax relief for next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the plan. Does that work for you?
Okay, it does.
Are you
Okay, cool.
I mean, between you and Brett, are we?
Yeah,
I
we'll
know
have-
it's been on our radar, but
Yeah,
nothing existential. Obviously, a lot of unknowns, particularly as it relates to GFS, but we can work within that.
Yeah, we'll get to work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? No? Nothing from Stephen? Stephen, if those roofs just weren't so expensive, this would be a different, no.
See, be honest, the jail's roof is only half of what we did before.
No,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah,
That was only
yeah.
half that roof.
So which half did you do, top or bottom?
You always start with the top.
It's fun, we actually did the outside.
Okay, Okay.
With that, I think I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got investment advisory at 11, I guess.
Yep.
Brett.